Last time on A Day in the Life with Brian Noles.
I don't know that there's going to be like a ton of content.
So we're getting a quick alignment check and service drive.
So this week, we're actually going to go back down and spend some more time with Brian. Last week he actually said, or last time, not necessarily last week, he said that you'd probably be pretty bored and we won't get much out of it. It ended up being so much information and so much good stuff that we actually did 2 vlogs on it. So check out part 2 and I'll see you all in a bit.
Hold on to your lug nuts, it's time for an overhaul!
So, service is like a living organism. It's not, you can't just set it and forget it with anything. So you're constantly making small adjustments and watching everything, and the schedule is one of them.
How many vehicles do we see in a day on average?
So that varies there. Again, I've got the schedule set up where we're heavy Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then light Thursday, Friday. So the goal is to diagnose, and then hopefully Thursday, Friday, repair, and out. With the current state of parts, that doesn't always happen, so it may be diagnose, and then the cars are either here waiting for parts, or customers pick them up. We'll have to bring them back when the parts come in, depending on what type of repairs needed. As a drivable, is it a safety concern? A lot of that varies on the extent of the repair. So we average in our network the highest hours per repair order. So we're normally, I think last month we were 2.6 hours per repair order, which that equates to we're doing a lot of large repairs in order to have that high of a number. So cars are here typically maybe a little bit longer than they would be at another shop that has less hours per RO. So there again, this year I worked hard on changing the schedule and the way that we schedule. Some of that was, so for a long time we just had where we took in so many appointments a day across the board, each, Monday through Friday. And so what I changed was the type of appointments we take in. So I kind of split it up where we have what I call main shop or journeyman, which is going to be the diagnostic and heavier and harder work. So that's one part of the schedule. And then I have a general maintenance type part, which is going to be oil changes, brakes, tires, alignments, easier non-diagnostic stuff that a different class of technician is able to do. That's work that we can turn out quicker. And then 2, I don't want people necessarily waiting 4 weeks for an oil change. That doesn't make sense, and that's not great for the customer. So that schedule is completely different than our main shop schedule. So we kind of run 2 different schedules. They look different. So that was one thing that I did, and that really helped open up as far as getting customers in for the general maintenance a lot quicker and getting them done a lot quicker. It's worked great. It was difficult to get the scheduling all worked out on the software side. And then the other part of that was we started looking at our available hours that we have each day, which is part of the efficiencies.
Technician efficiency. It is the actual number of hours a technician flags flag hours. The term flag hours and flat rate hours are often used interchangeably. While they are similar, there is a difference between the 2. The flat rate hours are the predetermined times that a job will pay based on the labor time guide. Other names for this are book hours or piece rate. When a technician performs work on a specific job, they flag the time. This means that they have claimed that particular time on a particular ticket related to a specific job code. Then they get paid a flat rate, which is calculated by using their hourly wage and flag hours. There we go, clear as mud. Technician efficiency. It is the actual number of hours a technician flags as opposed to the number of clock hours worked in a particular day. it is seldomly calculated by job. We generally use the daily efficiency as our measuring stick.
So if a technician's here for 8 hours, and let's say you have 10 technicians, well, you only have 80 hours available of work. Now the goal is maybe to get to, them to do 100 hours worth of work within that 80 hours, but you have to look at what you actually have available. So we kind of change the schedule to look at that versus just taking in 20 appointments. Well, okay, those 20 appointments may only equivalent to 50 hours worth of work. So you'd be short 30 hours and not efficient. So we still look at the number of appointments, but we also control by our availability and what each job. So it made a big difference once all of that was done. And then the other thing, like I mentioned before, was just what we're taking in at the front half of the week versus the last half of the week. So Friday, if you look at just the intake of the service drive, it seems like, man, we're really slow, there's not much going on. Well, the intake is really small, but the output of what we're pushing out at the end is big, and that's where we're collecting kind of all of our money. So it's, every day is a wave of work coming in and going out. And sometimes the waves are bigger on both ends. So,
And people in dealerships understand efficiency, but I would say normal people don't understand what shop efficiency means. Why does shop efficiency matter?
Well, there's two things with it. So there's efficiency and proficiency. So efficiency is an easy thing to measure. It's real basic. So you take how long the technician is here on the clock versus how much time he turns while he's here. So
Technician productivity. Technician productivity is the actual time worked in a day versus the number of clock hours available in that day. This has more to do with actual clock times as opposed to flag hours.
Flagging time, that's a whole other thing. I'll kind of dive into that. But we're a flat rate shop, so every job a technician does, there is some increment of time that's associated to that. So a good example is an oil change and a tire rotation. Ford does this works package, which is an oil change tire rotation. We pay 1 hour of time for the technician to do that. If it takes him an hour and 20 minutes to do it, he gets paid 1 hour. If it takes him 40 minutes to do it, he gets paid 1 hour. So the goal is, the technician's here for 8 hours. The goal is for him to be able to flag at least 8 hours worth of work. His goal is to flag more than that, 10 hours worth of work. So ultimately, if they're here for 40 hours at the end of the week and they have flagged 50 hours worth of work, they're going to get paid like they were here for 50 hours. So that's ultimately their goal. That's how they make their money, is by flagging more time, which is great. Now, if they're here for 40 hours and they only flag 30 hours, that's not an efficient tech, and he's just going to get paid for the time that he's here. We want everyone to flag more and be at least 120% efficient is the goal. And so we want that as a shop goal as well. So you have varying degrees within that efficiency of the technicians. And some of that depends on a lot of factors. The technician himself, how good is the technician? How quickly can he get jobs done? Is he working hard? Some of it is out of his control. Maybe he's got a warranty job that's really difficult and just doesn't pay well. And there's no way that he's going to make more than, flag more than what time he's on that, because that's just the way the job is. And so in traditional, with any manufacturer, warranty time pays less than what it should and what reality is. So if they get a bunch of warranty jobs, then they may not be able to make their time. So that's one part as far as efficiency. That's what we track every day on the technicians. The other side is proficiency, and that one's harder to measure. That is, how long does it take for the technician to get a car and pull it in? If he's waiting, does he have to walk up to a parts window and wait for someone to help him to get parts? So all this time that he's spending not actually in his bay working on the car. So I have a saying that, you know, if you're not turning, so if you're not turning wrenches, if you're not turning, you ain't earning. So the proficiency is, unless you're back there with a stopwatch, watching, which you can do. That's kind of hard to measure, and we've did a lot of steps over the last 8 months or so as far as proficiency. And it can be just like little things. Like recently I just numbered all of our parking spaces on the east side of the building, which is where the cars are at that need to be worked on. When they get parked there, the service advisor writes on the tag, it's in spot 8. So that way when the technician goes out to get the car, he knows, okay, spot 8, he's not walking around hitting the key fob, spending 3 or 4 minutes trying to find the car. So it can be just like little things like that where he knows, man, I go out spot 8, I know where spot 8 is at. He gets in the car and then he's pulling it in. So that's one thing. And some of the stuff we've just kind of stumbled upon, like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And some of it's been suggestions by other employees, technicians, like, hey, if we could do this, this would help. And one simple thing that was just like the moment. One of the technicians had said, so we had a keyboard where we hung all the keys, and he said, I've got the ticket, but then I've got to go walk to the keyboard, which wasn't the closest for him, get that, and then I've got to walk back and find the car. So he's spending all this time walking around. Well, the moment was, well, why don't we just put the keys in the sleeve with a repair order? He has it. He can just go right to the car right there. So we still have a dispatcher, but he dispatches all the jobs to the technicians. We have hooks for all of them, so they can just go right to their hook. And if there's something specific that needs to be done, the dispatcher will let them know that. Sometimes it's the technician looking through and saying, oh, you know what, this is a reprogram. I can get this going while I'm pulling this one in. And so we kind of leave it up to the technician for the most part to make their day and for them to be the most efficient, and they can kind of plan out like, oh, I can get this done, or I need to do this. Sometimes it's this one needs to be next. And then we also have where parts are here. So we have a diagnostic hook and parts are here hook. So anything that's on the diagnostic hook still needs to be looked at, diagnosed. And then once parts are here, or if parts are here same day, it goes down to the parts are here hook, so they know these are cars, parts are here, I get this done. And then the other thing is we have parts that are staging parts for each technician, and the jobs back in parts, and then the technician can just request for the parts to be brought out. So they're not walking up to the window, or if there's a line at the window, they're not waiting their turn. They're just, parts are coming out to them. The parts guys are constantly moving in the shop and bringing parts out to them. Because there again, if I keep them in their bay longer, they're going to be more productive and more efficient. So whenever you make a change, you have to be able to step back and look and see, okay, what else is this going to affect? Is it only going to affect this, or is it going to affect other things? And if it does affect other things, well, how do we handle that? And is it a positive effect or a negative effect? So it's as simple as it seems. Whenever you start just kind of peeling back, you're like, oh goodness, it can get complex really quick, and minute changes can make big ripple effects. As the wave may start out small, but then as it gets down the line, all of a sudden it's a tidal wave, and you're like, oh crud, I didn't figure that.
So after that first week with Brian said to Zach, oh, you probably won't get very much out of me, it'll be pretty boring. Well, guess what? We ended up getting so much info that we ended up having to do 2 vlogs on it. So that was kind of cool. I hope you enjoyed it and understand how important Brian's role is and how good of a service manager that guy is. So as always, check out this video on the side here that I'm going to put up a link to the subscription on this side. Top corner up there, Lou Fuse Ford. As always, we can replace the car, not the customer. Hit that post notification button, hit that like button, comment below, and I'll see you all next week.